Welcome back to another episode of Off the Dribble, featuring myself, Aashrith, and my co-host Chetan. Our first virtual episode since at least Chetan moved back to college, and I'll also
Yes,
back to
sir.
college soon.
Yep.
And we got a couple nice segments for you guys today. We're gonna start off with finishing up our not finishing up, but continuing our top 12 of each position. So today we have power forwards. And after that, we'll go into another new segment that we'll present to you guys later. So I think, Chetan, you can start. So, yeah, let's begin with our top 10 power forwards.
Yeah. As you guys see on the screen, you just saw top 12 power forwards. A little something new that Aashrith got going on. A little editing
we
going
got,
on. Yeah,
we
I
got
like it. I
editing
like
now,
it.
guys.
But okay. Give me 1 second. All right. So for 12 in the C tier, I have Draymond Green. I
Okay.
think that's just pretty kind of self-given and explanatory. Like Draymond obviously has been regressing a little like the past couple years, and it's not really about his play. It's more about like the way he holds himself on the court and his ability to control his anger, and that's kind of taking a down hit on the Warriors as well, because like when he's not on the court, the team is a lot worse because he's like their number one facilitator basically. So I have him at 12 because he's still a really key factor for that Warriors team. And if they do want to somehow make a run with the roster they have going into this upcoming season, he's going to still need to be a big part of that.
Yeah, I have him at 12 too.
Yeah.
And 12 and 11, 11 I'll get into after Chetan, obviously, but 12 and 11 pretty flippable for me.
Yeah.
But I think Draymond's sort of like dissension as like an offensive option is like more and more prevalent each year. Like
Hmm.
I remember like 2016 game 7, like when the Warriors blew the 3-1 lead, he was hitting threes. I think he
Yeah.
had 32 points that game. He probably would have won Finals MVP if they kept
He, he
if the
was
Warriors
doing
won that.
he
He was
used
going
to
off.
have like a very pretty decent offensive bag. You just see it like going down a little as like he progresses.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
now it's like that backpack sort of 3-point form is like catching up to him.
Yeah.
All like age, I think, more importantly, but like let's not get it twisted. Like when his mental is all straight, like he's still one of the best defensive players in the league.
For sure.
He's still like one of the best. He's still the best passer on the team,
Yeah.
even with a player like Steph.
Yeah.
And like that can't be overstated. But at this stage, I think, and obviously Chetan agrees that there's still 11 power forwards better than him.
Hmm. With number 11, like Asher said, they're kind of like very flippable. They kind of play like a really I wouldn't say similar position, but they're really like glue guys for their team, in my opinion. I don't know if Asher has the same person at 11, but I have Aaron Gordon at 11.
Yeah, I got to say
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So like Aaron Gordon, like when the Nuggets won their championship, he was a huge. He got traded that year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got traded that year. I remember actually because the Wolves were also looking to try and make it. It was a year before that actually. The Wolves were also looking to make a trade for a power forward, and then we were looking for Aaron Gordon, and I thought that would be a great piece for the Wolves to sign to put next to Cat. And then he ultimately went to the Nuggets, and he's filled that perfect role at the dunker spot, and that's perfect for the Nuggets because again, your main facilitator on that team is your center. So when your center can do so much with the ball in his hands, that leaves Aaron Gordon so much space around the basket. I think he's top 5 in leading the league in points around the restricted area just because like against the Wolves, he had a 28-point playoff performance game, and I think 18 of his points, there were 9 dunks. Like
Yeah.
literally 9 dunks. And that's kind of just being like the perfect player for any team. Like I feel like any team he goes to, he'll give you above average defense, can hold his own against pretty good power forwards, even though I would say he's a little shorter against a lot of power forwards, but he can hold his own, and like a really good rebounder plus like a fourth option on a team that can kind of go out there and just give you like those extra hustle points.
Yeah, I won't add too much. We're the same player, and you covered most of it. But one thing that might propel him up in the rankings if he gets that 3-point percentage just a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it was against the Wolves, right, where he had a game where he just started off like 5 for 5 from three. Like
Yep.
he has one of those, like a few of those games like every so often where he's like he goes crazy from three. But then he'll have another game where he goes 0 for 12.
Yeah.
Like the streakiness, if that ends, then like he could enter the top 10 conversation because he's such a like valuable defender, and like the Nuggets don't like as important as Jokic and Jamal Murray are, they don't win those championships without Aaron
Yeah,
Gordon.
very much so. At 10, I have Evan Mobley.
Okay.
I think this is like a pretty good position to put Evan Mobley, just like because I feel like everyone above him is just a little bit more established offensively, and kind of like everybody in the league knows about them and kind of sees them as offensive threats. But when you look at Evan Mobley, you see he has like that all star, like top 10, top 15 potential in the league, like kind of like that Wemby build, like 7 footish, 6'11", 6'10", really lanky, can move his feet, a great defender, great rim protector, and also has a pretty decent jump shot. I just want to see him kind of be more assertive with the ball. You saw it throughout the Celtics series, like when Donovan Mitchell was down, he kind of had to take another offensive role, and you saw him do it a little bit more. You saw him getting the offensive bag a little bit more, and like his stats during the season aren't bad. Like the past 2 seasons, he's averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists, basically. Like, and he's upped his 3-point percentage from 2023 to 2024 from 22% to 37%, which is pretty crazy. So if you're improving your 3-point percentage that much and you're shooting it, I wouldn't say pretty frequently, but above average, like he can make his way up the rankings.
Yeah, I have him a little bit higher, so I'll talk more about him then. But right here at 10, I have this might be a little low, but I think I'm just higher on the other players above him. But I have Julius Randle here at 10,
Okay.
and like I think he suffers from like lack of seeing him. I think like he was so injured this season, but like this season, even during the games he played, he's pretty solid. 24 points a game,
Mm-hmm.
47% shooting. The issue for me is like just like Aaron Gordon, that 3-point percentage is really low. Like he's shooting 30% from three, and that's on high volume too. Like I think Knicks fans' only complaint with Julius Randle recently has been his shot selection, and like he'll pass up an open look for a contested look. And as much as like he's easily the second best player in that team, I think he's kind of the forgotten man, especially because of how well Brunson's led them in like since his absence, and it looks like they don't even need him for most of the stretches. So I think Rando's like a solid player. I think like his offense kind of overshadows like his weaknesses, and like I'm a bit lower on him than like most people are, I guess.
Yeah, so I have him at 9, like a little
Okay.
just right above you. I just think
Okay.
he's a little bit more offensively assertive than Evan Mobley, and at the
Yeah.
same time, like Mobley is a really great defender, but that gap offensively between Randall is it's pretty big because you could see Randall go out there and take a contested fadeaway jumper on the baseline, fading out of bounds, and it will go in. Like you see at times, like even though there is Brunson is on the team, like at the end of the game or in the fourth quarter in crunch time, like Randall has the ball in his hands. Like Tibbs like trusts him with that. And also like Randall is what a 3-time All-Star, I think, was named to be an All-Star last season. Didn't get to play in the game obviously because he was hurt, but yeah, I just feel like he's just more assertive in the league right now. And yeah, he was injured, but I feel like he'll come back next year and just fully bring that Knicks team together.
That's fair. And again, like I think as big as the gap is between Julius Randle and Evan Mobley offensively, I think the gap might even be bigger between Evan Mobley and Julius Randle defensively. I genuinely think Evan Mobley's defensive player of the year potential like every single year. And speaking of defensive player of the year, at 9 I have Jaren Jackson Jr. And like I think a lot I was actually watching Kenny Beecham's Numbers on the Board podcast, and a lot of the concentration of like their lists revolved around whether like who is better, Evan Mobley or Jaren Jackson Jr. And I kind of find myself having the same debate. I have Evan Mobley. I was a spoiler. I have Mobley right at 8. But I think Jaren Jackson Jr.'s sort of like offensive limitations showed themselves a little this season. Like the first season, he was the number one option truly because everyone else on the team was hurt. He shot like 8 percentage points lower from the field. He was, I think, yeah, he shot 44% from the field, 32% from three, and like I think he averaged the most points, but on like 44% shooting, like unless you're like Russell Westbrook and like providing like a bunch of other things, like you really don't want to be below that 46, 47% mark. And I think Evan Mobley's offensive ceiling is a lot higher than that of like Jaren Jackson Jr. and even his defensive ceiling. I'm really high on Evan Mobley. So like between those two is kind of where I had the ranking like disparity, and I had Jaren Jackson finishing there.
So for number 8, I have Jaren Jackson Jr. just a little bit higher than number 8, but for number 8, I have Lauri Markkanen.
Okay.
I just think like Lauri is just like,
Oh, that's low,
yeah.
isn't it?
I don't know. I just think everybody above him just contributes to their team a lot more. Like Lauri is kind of like that player on my team or player on the team where, yeah, when you watch him play, like he's really good, but I don't want to call it empty stats, but he hasn't really contributed to winning as much yet. And yeah, that might be the team surrounding him, and he can't really do too much with that team surrounding him, obviously, and he's in the Western Conference as well. But like, I don't know. He's also very, very injury prone. Like he's in and out of the lineup a lot. So I just want to see him play a lot more. And honestly, just I want to see him leave the Jazz and be on a bigger team and just a team that can kind of he could just show his like true potential to like the whole league, even though he's already kind of showing that already.
Fair. I have him I have him considerably higher, but I touched on Evan Mobley being at 8 before, and like I mentioned on like I think it was the first or second episode of Off the Dribble that the entire reason I even started like wanting to do anything with basketball media is because of Evan Mobley. Like he was such a unique prospect that like I felt like I had to write about him. His sort of like his defensive versatility, like at that size, being able to he theoretically has the measurables to guard any position on the court, and his length is so vast that he's able to make up like ground like at a rate like I think Giannis is like the closest what I've seen, and I think like defensively like we're talking like top 5 in the league, and he's Josh Giddey's age, like he's 22.
Yeah.
Like that's really crazy to me. And even at USC, you kind of see his offensive potential being a bit like tapped in. Like so you can see the form. The jump shot's actually pretty smooth. Once he starts working it low from 3, he's gonna fly up this list, I think. So I think for now 8 is good. Like genuinely, if he isn't like a consensus top 5 at the end of the next season, then I think it's a disappointment.
Yeah. So for number 7, I have Jaren Jackson Jr. And I feel like this past season he's gotten a lot of like critique and criticism for him not kind of taking that number 1 role. And I want people to kind of remember that his role on that team isn't to be a number 1 option. Like he's not supposed to be a number 1 option. Like when you're in the league, like yeah, obviously you want to try to be the best player on the floor as like a player wise, but as team wise, you have to understand like you have to have players on teams that can play their roles and play their positions properly. And Jaren Jackson Jr. plays that number 2 position perfect, besides John Morant. And now he has Zach Edey alongside him now to take off a little bit of that pressure on the to help him at the rim. And maybe you'll see Jaren Jackson Jr. go out on the perimeter a lot more and guard up there. And I feel like he has the measurables to do that. He has a length to, even if he beats you off the dribble, he has a length to go back and recover. And offensively, like his stats aren't like too bad. Like, yeah, 22.5 points, 44.5% field goal, 45%, 32 from 3. That was a little bit of a drop off. It was like 3% drops. His rebounding numbers went down a little. But again, he was the number 2 option on the team, and Ja isn't healthy right now. And again, you're going to have Ja healthy back next season. So half of that attention that he got this past season isn't going to be there next season. So if we're looking at the 2024-2025 season, I kind of see him going on the path of him being that top 3 in defensive player of the year, and then at the same time continuing that 18 to 19 points per game and being that number 2 option alongside John Morant.
You don't think that 5 rebounds a game as like a 6'11" like person who played center this season is a bit concerning?
That's not what he has to do next season. He's gonna have another 7-footer next to him. Like let him go out there, play defense, and even if you look at his rebounding numbers since he's been in the league, there been 4.7, 4.6, 5.6, 5.8.
That's the worrying part, I think. Like you want like I think a lot of the critique on like a player like Chet, for example, a lot of like Thunder media or like Thunder Twitter, their main critique of Chet has been the fact that he's not able to get rebounds at the same rate as like a Wemby, for example, right? And I think Chet, if my memory serves me right, is around 7 a game for his rookie season. I don't want this to turn another Bradley Beal situation, but like I think like Jaren Jackson, if he wants to advance up this list for me, I think, which is not like my opinion matters at all. Like I
Yeah,
think
our opinions really don't matter.
like I think I'd like to see at least 7 to 8 rebounds a game, like realistically. And like this could be another topic on its own, but I honestly think Zach Edey hurts him more than helps him. Like that
Eh.
man is like the lateral quickness of like me, and
Yeah,
like
but that's not like Zach Edey doesn't have to. He doesn't have to do anything other than sit in the paint anymore. All he has to do is put 1 foot out of the restricted area, put 1 foot back in, put 1 foot out, put 1 foot back in, keep going in and out of the paint, and let Jaren Jackson Jr. guard your power forward.
dude, like Clippers fans have like horrible memories of watching Luka take out Zubox in the paint, in the perimeter. Could you imagine what that man will do to Zach Edey, bro? I think he gets hurt the first time he plays Luka, bro. This it could be a whole other topic.
Luka's doing that to any 7-footer. He's gonna do it to Jaren Jackson Jr. He did it to a four-time defensive player of the year. He'll probably do it to Chet. He'll do it to Wemby. Luka will do it to anybody above the height of 6'11". Because physically speaking, you can't move your feet that fast. If your legs are that long, you can't expect to recover. It's impossible.
That's fair. Okay, I think are we on 7 right now?
Yeah, 7.
I bet I have Pascal Siakam here at 7, and like I think he could honestly be higher. Like 2K has him as the third best power forward in the game. I think that's crazy, but like 7 could be low for like a Pacers fan. I think what he showed last season in the playoffs is a good taste of what Pacers fans are gonna get from him as like that sort of lead scorer. Even ever since the G League, I think he won G League Finals MVP. Like ever since then, he's been really good at putting the ball in the basket. He has a variety of post moves around the basket that spin move, which everyone makes fun of him for. It works every time. Like, and he was in the playoffs from the mid range, especially the Celtics couldn't guard him. He put Al Horford in that action over and over again, and he had no idea what to do. And that's the case for a lot of people when they're guarding someone like Siakam. The issue for me has always been consistency and like genuinely like a lack of like attempt of trying on the defensive end. Like if like with his like measurables, he should be like a lot better, I think, on that end. But like he's so offensively talented that I think like anywhere like too low would be like disrespectful. So like 7's a good spot, I think.
Yeah, so I have him at 6, like right above Jaren Jackson Jr. Like he played amazing in the playoffs. Like half the reason they were in all the games that they were in is because of him. Because like Tyrese, you saw him kind of like he didn't perform at the offensive level like he wanted to. Like the facilitation was there, but the like, pure scoring aspect of his game wasn't at the level like he was in the regular season. So Siakam picked that up a lot, and he has that playoff experience. He's a championship winner, so he's a multiple-time All-Star. Like 2 or 3 years, at 3 or 4, or something like that, around that number. He's made the All-Star team a couple years. So yeah, I have him at 6.
Okay. And 6 for me is Zion, who realistically should be like 2. Yeah. With the talent he has.
I'm not gonna lie, Zion should be he has a potential to be a number 1 kind of guy on this list. This is crazy to say.
Yeah. For me, like number 1's kind of untouchable.
Yeah.
But like he should
obviously number one is untouchable if we're being realistic.
Yeah. But he should at least be top 3. And like him being at 6 is more so like an indictment on the way he's taking care of himself.
Yeah.
But he's like when he's on the court, we just talked about this last episode, but when he dropped 40 against the Lakers in the play-in game and like they're about to play us, I was pretty confident Thunder would win the series, but I was like damn, bro, like Zion's about to bully Chet in the paint. Like this is gonna be like so much help defense. They're gonna have wide open shooters, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, CJ. It's gonna be like that's gonna be so annoying to rotate. But then he went down with that injury, and like they're like all Pelicans fans, I'm sure, lost hope in that very moment. Like he's the engine that makes it go, and like even with how little of like an outside the paint game he has, like he still manages, like he's unguardable. Like he's shooting 60% for the season,
It's because
and
like his outside of the game paint might not be there, but if you guard up too close to him, he'll just run through you.
he's
If you
so
guard too far from him, he'll still run right through
he
you.
and if he and like if you're just like if you're a little bit smaller than him or a little bit slower, he'll dunk all over you.
Yeah.
Like like his skill set, and like the crazy thing is like he's so one-handed. Like
Mhm.
like I'm seeing him finish with the left every single time, but you can't guard him.
Yeah.
So like again, I saw videos of him this past like week on Twitter. He looks a lot like slimmer. Like he looks like he's actually maintained himself. And if that's the case, like sky's the limit. Like genuinely could be the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But like I think with what we've seen so far, like this is like 6, like that 5 to 6 range is probably where people should have him.
So for me, for number 5, I have Paulo.
Okay.
And then Zion just a tiny bit higher. And
Yeah.
Paulo, like I love Paulo so much. Like ever since he's been in, I've ever since he's been in Duke, I've kind of watched him really closely because I've heard about him when he committed to Duke, and then the reason I started paying attention to him is I don't know if you remember this or if you guys listening or watching also know this is like when he first started playing in Duke, he had this like problem with his like health where
Yeah, the
he would
sweat thing. Yeah.
sweat and he would lose like 7 to 10 pounds just purely off of his sweat a game, which is like insane. Like every time you play a basketball game, you're sweating out 7 pounds of like your body weight. Like that's crazy. So they would have to give him like a special like drink that would basically kind of control his sweat, and so he wouldn't sweat as much. And they were controlling how much he was sweating throughout the game. And I was like, damn, this is the number one player in the country. He has a health issue like this, and he's still going out there and giving every single college team 25 points, 9 rebounds, and like 7 assists. Like
He's crazy.
it was insane. And that Duke team, like the team he was on, like they weren't like super good either. Like I don't remember exactly who was on that team. I know Jeremy Roach was still on that team because that dude has been in college for like 5 years.
Dead
But
ass.
he's still on that team. He was on that team, and he took them to I think it was a Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took them to
They
the Sweet.
lost a bit. They lost a bit early. I forgot what team they lost to though.
Yeah, it wasn't. They definitely didn't make the Elite Eight, but he made
Yeah.
it. He made it past the round of 32, and they lost in the Sweet 16. Which, with that team, and as being a freshman and the number one player in the country with that many eyes around you, is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And just his stats last season, he shot 23 points per game, 5.4 assists per game, and 7 rebounds on 34% 3-point shooting and 46% field goal shooting. That's just like perfect. I just want to see a tiny bit more consistency out of him. And I feel like me and you have kind of brought this up a bunch just when we talk about the Magic and seeing the Magic kind of go from that 5th seed to a top 2 seed or something like that in the East. You need to see Paulo take that next step and be a little bit more consistent and give you 25 points every night and not like a 35-point game one night and then like 11-point game the next night. So that's my only critique on him.
For sure. Yeah, I'm just a little bit higher. So I have right here at 5. I have Lowry,
Okay.
which like it's a little higher than you had him.
Yeah.
But I guess I just value his 3-point shooting a lot. Like I think for me, like what I look for in a basketball player is like the sort of like KD argument. We're gonna bring up KD obviously later in the list, but
Yeah.
where he can kind of fit on any team ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of value that a lot in a basketball player, and like there's not a team in the league that couldn't use a player like Larry Markkinen.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah,
like he's like a solid 3-point shooter. Like crashes the boards, gets rebounds. Like he's one of those players that like could fit on any team. I'm not just saying this because we had like rumors to him for like years, but like you said, like I think if he was to leave a team like the Jazz and like go to a team like the Warriors, which obviously is impossible anymore because he just signed the contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was to do that, we could see a lot more of like how he would be in a winning situation. Because I agree, I don't necessarily think he's a 1, but like I also don't think he's like a 3. Like I think he can be like an insanely valuable 2 and someone that can like affect the game on both ends. You already spoke a lot about Lowry, so I'll keep it short. But yeah.
Yeah, I see why people really value him and put him in like that top 5 position. Like he's been amazing for the Jazz. The progress that he made like that year on the Jazz to become an all-star. Like I don't think anybody saw it coming. Like how much, that production was insane. So yeah, for number 5, This is 4. Yeah.
4.
Number 4, I have Zion. This is like you already touched on Zion. I just want to see him take care of his body a lot more and just kind of like that 40-point game, man. Like I really wish he did. I really wish we saw him in like I know you probably didn't want to see him in the playoffs, obviously, because you're a Thunder fan.
Yeah.
But as like an NBA fan, you probably were
You
like,
wanted
damn,
to see
like
him, yeah.
low key, like if Zion, we haven't seen him play in the playoffs yet. Like him playing in the playoffs after coming off a 40-point game in the play-in, beating the Lakers, like that's crazy. And then like that injury happened and it sucked. Like it's kind of what people kind of expected was gonna happen because it's Zion, obviously. Like something goes right for him and it goes wrong. But I just want to see him take care of his body. It'll be a little bit more. And yeah, I like he doesn't really have to change anything about his game. Like even though the game is evolving so much, like he'll be fine. Like
Yeah.
there's no one can guard him in any aspect of what he does. So he doesn't really have to change his game in any way.
Yeah, I agree. So 4, you're on 4, right? Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
I have Paolo.
Okay.
And like I think again, like you could say this for like the bottom half of the list too, but he has a chance to be 1 and literally the end of this year. He's insane. And the crazy part about Paolo is coming out of college, a lot of people didn't even have him mocked as the first overall pick. It was a lot of Jabari Smith Jr. And including me, I had Jabari Smith Jr. going number 1 too. And I think like it was to the point where Shams had reported that the Magic are going to take Jabari Smith Jr. And then like 2 hours before, Woj came out with a bomb that was like the Magic are pivoting and now taking Paolo Banchero, the number 1 overall pick. And like I was shocked because I was like, oh, like if you look at Jabari Smith Jr.'s like, not to divulge into Jabari Smith Jr., but his player comp was like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And like I was like, wow, they're passing on this kind of player for Paolo. But like Paolo's offensive game is so underrated. Like he's a true 2-level scorer with the potential to be like a full-fledged 3-level scorer. And the most underrated part of his game is definitely his defense. Like his defensive like mobility, like his ability to guard 4s and 5s, like is so underrated. And he's gonna be the linchpin of that Magic team for like years to come, obviously. So like he's comfortably top 5 for me, and I like 1 probably in like 3 years.
Yeah. Number 3, I have Cat.
Yeah.
I think this is just like you can't put him higher than this, and you can't really because if you put him higher than this, it's disrespectful for
yeah, bro.
number 1 and 2, and then you put him lower than this. Like I don't really see how you can put him. Apollo will probably go above him in the next year or two, obviously, but Cat, I feel like he kind of redeemed himself a little bit this playoff run, and then at the same time, kind of went back to the same old Cat. You saw like ups and downs, but I feel like it was a great step forward. Like this whole season from start to finish, except the part of him being hurt. Like, dude, I hate like Cat was never known as an injury-prone player until like his, I would say, 5th season in the league. He played 82 games his first 3 seasons, 77 his 4th season. Then he got hurt his 5th, played 35, then 50, 74, 29, and 62. So he's kind of seen as like an injury-prone player. So, and it really sucks because the past 3 years have been really hard on the dude as like in his personal life. He's just been going through so much. But like he's taken a step back to Ant, and him being able to do that because when he came into the league and when he came onto the Wolves, he's been the Wolves franchise player for the last, let's say, 9 years since Ant emerged last season. And the emergence of Ant would happen super fast. Like it wasn't like a year by year kind of thing. Like from 2 seasons ago to last season, like it happened like this. And to be able to take a step back from the franchise that was kind of just you kind of were just given the keys to for like past 9 years, and to take that step back and even being the max player on the team and still being like, okay, I'm not the number 1 guy anymore. I could be the perfect number 2 for him, and let me just do that. I feel like that takes a lot of like that. You just need to want to win, and at the same time, like, dude, he calls himself the best shooting big man ever. It's between him and Dirk. Like you can't really. It's one or the other. And three-pointer wise, like. Bro shot 42% from 3 this past season as a 7-footer. He was almost part of the 70-40-90 the 50-40-90 club. He shot 50% from the field goal percentage. He averaged 22 points a game, 8 rebounds and 3 assists. and his playmaking was a really underrated part of his game. And then he stepped up his defense as well in the playoffs. You saw it against Jokic. He was the only player that you've seen in the past like year or two that has shown to like visibly frustrate Jokic in a playoff series. So like even though he has his bad games and it might have been like a game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, he showed it up the next game after that and then came back and drained 5 threes and went 5 for 6, and that was the reason his team won. I feel like he just gets way too much hate for the kind of player he is, and half of the hate stems from his voice, which is so stupid. It's literally half the hate stems from his voice.
I think our number 2 on this list might have something to say about like the best big man shooter ever.
Yeah.
But like Cat's kind of stuck in no man's land, I think, because he like you said, he just can't be number 2 or 1, but yes, he also just can't be number 4.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of stuck in this number 3 sort of like gray area. But I won't, like, as you obviously as the resident Wolves fan, like know a lot more about Cat than me. So I won't comment too much on Cat more than what you said so far. But one thing that really stuck out to me about Cat is the point you touched on at the end, which is like his sort of maturation to be able to accept that Ant's the number 1 guy and I'm going to be that number 2. It really showed when he had a game this season where he dropped 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that was
we lost that game.
Yeah, I know you lost.
Terrible game.
Yeah, and like after you guys lost the game, like Chris Finch came out and said like we shouldn't be selfish, like players shouldn't look just like play for themselves, and like since then, like Cat's kind of, I think from at least from what I watched from like the Wolves games that I saw, Cat's deferred all the time and looked to be that sort of second option, and like he took that in stride too, and I really respect that about him, and I think number 3 is a good spot for him.
Yep. And for number 2 and number 1, like I think I'll just say both of them. KD and Giannis. I have KD and Giannis. I think Aashrith does the same thing. KD's been doing it for so long. You saw what he did in the Olympics. Like so filthy. Like just a pure scorer. Just pure basketball skill. And just literally like he is a definition of I'm gonna just dedicate my life to hooping. That's it. That's all he be doing. And then obviously he'd be dabbling in the devil's lettuce a little bit, but like that's what he does on the side. And then we got got Giannis at number 1. Giannis is just like a dominant force as a power forward. He's probably been the number 1 power forward for the past 2-3 seasons, 4 seasons maybe. It's just like every time I see him play, I don't see a matchup. So I don't see anybody match up like well against him. Like they're either too small or they're too slow to guard him. Like it's like crazy. Like Giannis is what, 6'10", probably like 250, 240, 230, something around there, and can just literally run at you like Zion. And it's just like you can't stop that. So, and he's just been dominant for so long.
Like obviously I also have Giannis and KD, but I think like the scary part about Giannis that like he's getting underrated. Like you can argue that he's the most underrated player in the league. If you look at
I don't see anybody talking about him.
If you look at his numbers this past season, he shot like I think like this could be a hot take. I don't know how many people have said it before. I think this is the best season of his career this past season. Like he averaged 30 points, 12 rebounds, 6.5 assists. But more importantly, he shot 62% from the field. Like people don't understand how hard it is to shoot above 50% from the field. This man shot above 60%. And if he could like no one even wants him to develop a 3-point shot. Like that would just be the end of the league. If he could just get to like 70% from the free throw line, like he could in my opinion, he's probably the second best player in the league. I think like I don't mind people having him a 1. I don't mind people having him a 3. I think the top 3 is like pretty clear cut and definite. But like it's scary how like the third at worst best player in the league is getting like severely underrated by like mass media. And how like he just might have had the best season of like one of the most illustrious careers in NBA history, and people are just like neglecting it like it's just like another year for him.
Yeah.
And it's scary for the league because he's gonna have so much more offensive control next season. Because the more Dame ages, the less he's gonna want the ball in his hands, and like that means Giannis is about 34 a game maybe. Like he has all the leverage and all the talent to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to touch on KD like quickly, like the best scorer I've seen in my life, probably like the the third best player I've ever seen like live, like and like it's so crazy that we're able to like watch like this level of talent. Like we're so like
Yeah.
lucky. It's actually so crazy. But you can't say enough nice things about Kevin Durant, even though he
Yeah.
like left us high and dry. Like he's still like one of the best players of all time.
You really like no matter how much you try hating him at one point, like
You
you watch
can't.
him play and then you fall back in love with how good he
Yeah,
is, and you're like, I really can't. Like I gotta respect how good he is.
exactly.
Yeah. So now we're gonna be moving on to a new segment called guarantees, bold guarantees, and basically what me and Aashrith are gonna do is we're each gonna give two like NBA guarantees that we think are going to happen this season and which we fully believe are 100% going to happen. And then when the season starts, we'll give our little kind of like updates on how it's going. And at the end of the season, we'll revisit them and see whose guarantees did better and who came closer. So I'll start off with my first guarantee. And we both did one guarantee that relates to our favorite team. So I did one relating to the Thunder or to the Wolves, and then he did one relating to the Thunder. And then we did like another guarantee just for another team or something else. So my first one was the Wolves go from the 16th ranked offense in the league to easily a top 10 offense while also maintaining a top 5 defense in the NBA. So how likely do you think that is likely to happen?
Honestly, I was pretty surprised you guys were our top 10 offense last season.
Yeah.
like like so yeah, I think with the ascension of Anthony Edwards is like almost certainly going to propel you guys to like a top 10 offense. The issue with like the whole like metric system is that like the greatest offenses of all time are all like from 2022 and onwards. Like the
Yeah.
offensive metrics are so like bloated towards like
Yeah.
this era that
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you're not even like even if you're like the 16th best offense in the league, you're still like one of the greatest offenses of all time.
Of all time.
So I don't know how much like top 10 necessarily like matters in terms of like how like good you guys are, because like obviously we did our conference predictions, like both of us had the Wolves finishing 1 and 2 in the league. Like we still think they're going to be good, but like I think with Ant's like natural progression, with like the introduction of like Rob and like Cat still like maintaining the sort of second role, Gobert can hopefully like play offense. Like I think like I like
If you guys don't know, he was trying to come up with something to say, and he just said play offense.
yeah, like yeah,
You couldn't
but
even say like make a layup, bro.
no, like because I don't know, bro. Like play offense is a pretty big task for him.
Yeah.
So I think like if all that manages to come together, like you guys should eat. Like you guys might be top 5, honestly.
Yeah. So like the reason I did it is put it like that is because like you see a lot of teams take that step offensively from season to season, but it comes at a cost of like their defensive side. And the Wolves' identity the last season was their defense. That's what got them the number 3 seed in the West. So I feel like, yeah, just with the ascension of Anthony Edwards and then adding Terrence Shannon Jr., Rob Dillingham, pieces like that, you are, I think it's a guarantee you're going to go get 10th or higher. But at the same time, we added even better defenders. But again, it's really hard for a team to buy into a defensive mindset for such a long period of time because it takes a toll on the body. Like you players in the locker room might just be like, "Oh, damn, bro, this season was so long. We were the number 1 defense. We exerted all our energy on our defensive floor. Let's just go out there and play offense and try outscoring every team." Like that can be a mindset for teams. So I still don't think that's going to happen, which is why I'm guaranteeing top 10 in both offensive defense plus top 5 in defense.
Fair. I'll say we'll go 1-on-1 then.
Yeah.
All right. So my take was the Thunder will get 60 plus wins this season.
Okay.
And if you look at if you just look at how deep the roster is, like one thing that's notorious about like Coach Dagnall is that he's gonna play everyone. Like last season against the Pelicans, like commentators were shocked that like we went 11 deep. Against the Mavs, we went 11 to 12 deep. Like it was crazy. We were giving Gordon Hayward legitimate NBA minutes just because like we just want to extinguish our bench. Like it's just whatever. But like replacing Gordon Hayward and Josh Giddey with Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, and like adding that onto a 57 win team with like J Dub's ascension, Chet's ascension, Shea, even if Shea doesn't ascend, like even if Shea stays the exact same player he was last season, like I think we were top 5 in offensive and defensive win shares last season. The only team in the NBA actually with top 5 offensive defensive win shares. I think that like that trend is gonna extend. I don't see our offense getting any worse surely with Josh Giddey leaving. And like for the same reason, I don't think our defense gets any worse either.
Yeah.
So like adding like really, really valuable role players to go along with the 3-headed monster that is Shea, J-Dub, and Chet. Like it's hard for me to not like project us to get 3 more wins than last season.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like just to take it a step further, because like what's like 3 more wins is kind of boring, right? Like I think this is the best Thunder roster of my lifetime. And like obviously that includes like the 2016 team that should have made the finals.
Yeah.
And like if like saying this right now, if we don't make at least the conference finals, it's a humongous disappointment for like the progression of our roster.
Yeah. I agree. Like you guys kind of got rid of who was holding you back offensively, and then you added pieces to help you offensively, plus maintaining that defensive pedigree you guys had. So I don't like winning 3 more games like shouldn't be a problem for you guys. Like your roster got better. So realistically speaking and statistically speaking, going off your record after winning 57 games, I have a very strong possibility that you guys go out there and win 60, maybe who knows, maybe even 65 games. That might happen.
Maybe even 74. Who knows?
Oh wow! Oh wow!
No,
Crazy hot take. But yeah, I think that's a great guarantee. But for my second guarantee, I have might be a hot take to some of you, but the Bucks get a top 3 seed in the East. That means that obviously Celtics are your 1. That means that either the Knicks or the Sixers won't be a top 3 seed. And I personally think that is going to be the Sixers. Just looking based off of players, who your players are, who's going to stay healthy during the regular season to try and help you get that top 3 seed. I'm not saying that they can't make a run in the playoffs, but they got to get the top 3 seed, you're going to have your stars to play a full healthy season. And are they going to do that? We have to wait and see. But I can realistically see like either the Knicks or Sixers falling apart in the regular season and Giannis just going on a one-man tear and Dame just giving him those solid, perfect number 2 options scoring outputs that Giannis needs next to him. And then Chris Middleton is there as well. I just feel like next season Giannis is just going to go on a tear. Like that's what I'm banking on, and that's what I'm banking on the Bucks getting a top 3 seed. Because if Giannis goes on a tear, he can literally carry that team to the finals if he wants to. Like that's how good he is.
Yeah, that's not a bad take at all. And I had the Bucks at 4, obviously. Like I think, and I had this. I think it was. If I'm looking back at my conference record predictions right now, I went Sixers, Knicks, Bucks for that 2, 3, 4. And like so I'm very high on the Sixers. I think this is the season they all put it together. Like I think Embiid stays healthy, hopefully, and I think this is the year. But like the difference in sort of talent between those two teams might be sizable in terms of the back end of the roster. But like you said, like Giannis is such a force that like I think like them being the 2 or 3 seed is not unrealistic at all.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a pretty good take. So my second take is, I mean, we talked about him at length, so I won't go too much into like how he is as a player, but I think Paolo Banchero is going to be an all-star starter this season. And I think a lot of that is going to be like, who is he going to replace? And off the top of my head, like remind me, like I think he has to, like obviously I think Giannis and Joel are going to be locks, right? So
Tatum.
Yeah, that's the one I think he's going to supplant.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how crazy of a take that is. And I think like, I think at this point, like to say that Paolo is going to be a better player than Tatum this season is not like necessary. I don't think that's necessarily like an absurd take. Like it's on the borderline of hot.
Not at all. In my opinion, I don't think that's an absurd take at all.
Yeah. Like I think Paolo just like projects to be better at basketball. Like, and I don't know. I'm really low on Tatum. It could be like sort of the Olympic sort of like fever of like, oh, like he didn't really play that many minutes or whatever. But like ever since like I haven't seen Tatum play a consistent like good brand of basketball since March. And what makes me think that's gonna change like this season? I don't know. Like Jaylen Brown's been the best player on the team for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
And I don't see a world where that changes too much. Like I think to start the season especially, I think Jaylen Brown is I think Jaylen Brown's gonna get the respect he deserves this season.
Mhm.
And I've been one of those people like as a troll to, like a couple of my close friends were Celtics fans. Like I'll say like, oh, Jaylen Brown, like whatever, he sucks, whatever.
Shout
But
out Ani Tage.
shout out Tage. But I think Jaylen Brown is going to like. I don't know if that's a hot take that he might supplant Jason Tatum as like the best player on the team. Is that too crazy of a take? Like,
No, I don't think so.
yeah,
Like,
and
well, I don't know. It's hard to say because they both do things in their own they both do different things so good. Like during the regular season, like Tatum was obviously like I feel like by far during the regular season, Tatum was a better player.
yeah,
But
for
during the
sure.
playoffs, like when it can come playoff time, Jaylen Brown performed better. So
Yeah,
like I don't know. I feel like they kind of just complement each other really well.
and I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. 'Cause I think last episode I was like, oh, like Jaylen Brown got easier coverages because like Jason Tatum, he gets the number one option. I think like although like that's the case, I don't really think that Jason Tatum is like solidified himself as like that player in the All-Star starting lineup that can't be like replaced.
Yeah.
And like I think Paolo's gonna get the Magic to like a high seed, top 5, and like a cemented top 5 seed with like the backing of like everyone wants to push Paolo as sort of this next player. Like they're already
Yeah.
talking about him being the face of the 2028 Olympics team.
Mhm.
So I think that sort of push from like external sources is obviously going to play a part too. And I think All-Star starter, it's a hot take and maybe it won't happen, but like if a player can do it and supplant like Tatum in the East, it's going to be
It's
Paolo.
definitely him. Yeah. So I think that's a great take, and that's a very possibility. But he would have to take most likely Tatum's spot, and I think if someone can give Tatum a run for his money for it, it's definitely Paulo. And I feel like Paulo's just played his second year, third year,
It would be his
third year.
3rd year.
Yeah, third year. Was it his third year?
No, it's the second year.
Yeah,
It's J-Dub.
it
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
second.
a lot of players take a really big step from their second to third year, and like I feel like Paulo wants to do that. And the Magic at the same time, last season got a little bit more publicity. So that's also going to help with them when it comes All-Star time, because All-Star starters are very much based off of fan voting. That's kind of how it goes. Like the starting five, like it's kind of like fan voting, captains, things like that. So he kind of needs to get that a little bit more the publicity. But I feel like the Magic, since they were a top 5 seed last season, they're going to get a lot more publicity next season. People are going to be tuning into him a lot more.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our episode for you guys today. We did our top 12 power forwards and our bold NBA guarantees. Next episode is gonna be on Wednesday. Aashrith is gonna have a different background because he's gonna be at school probably then.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we're gonna keep on continuing to post videos. Every day, stay consistent with it. Wednesdays and Sundays, and yeah, just keep sticking with us and keep tuning in. Keep tuning in, and yeah, like, subscribe, and comment down below if you guys agree or disagree with any of our guarantees or whoever's power forward list you guys like better. Comment in the leave it in the comment section as well. And yeah, have a good day and see you guys Wednesday. Peace.
Yep. Peace.